All right. So the kind of main workshop that we'll go over today, and again, as Sarah has mentioned, throw questions in the chat, raise your hand, just speak up. However, ask questions. We're really excited to make this as discussion based as possible. But the focus we figured we would do today is on what happens if you have your full service restaurant. You've got a complicated menu, and you're doing menu training for new team members. Typically, you're probably going to end up overwhelming those team members with too much information at the start to the point where we're going to have to figure out a way to do some menu refresher training over time. Your team is not going to retain the information, even if you have them memorize and write down, every single ingredient and every item. They're going to forget it in a couple of days. So how do we make sure it's staying fresh of mind? They can sell to their guests. They can sell to, they can, retain allergy information, all those important aspects. So we figured we would start with a couple of those key indicators that might tell you the menu training is a little overwhelming. A couple that we wrote down were might just be too much for team members to keep up with. You might see POS void rates increase, especially around team members not knowing allergen information. So they have to go in, void menu items in the POS, re-ring new items. And then also you might see guest complaints go up because team members can't answer questions or guests feel like they're not getting those questions answered. Are there any other kind of like indicators that you all can think of that may tell you your team might be overwhelmed with new hire training, especially on the menu side of things? Throw them in the chat or just speak up. Miss rings, yep. Oh yeah, kitchen remakes. Time at the POS. That's interesting, Steph. Just speed of service in general. You can probably see that if you're a full service restaurant. You can see that with how long your guests are sitting at tables for on any reservation platform. Long ticket times, yep. Because they might have rang in something wrong. They're putting the cheese in the wrong order over lettuce on a burger. It's throwing off the kitchen because they don't understand how to ring. Ton of questions. Exactly. So your team is actually going to their coworkers to get those answers instead of having a place that they can go to themselves or be able to pull the information straight from their memory. 100%, Steph. Awesome. So we figured we would work together today to think through as a group, what are some different ways we can approach refresher training for that team member that they've been trained on the menu as a new hire. Maybe they're 6 months in and they need some refreshers on menu training. So we kind of figured we'd walk through that today. So we've got in front of us kind of these 4 categories that are really a part of instructional design documents approach to designing training from that perspective. And figured we'd start with the audience. So for this particular use case where we have hourly team members that are 3 to 6 months in trying to learn the menu, let's define our target audience a bit more. Who is the target audience? I kind of already said it, but I think I can write on here, right, Sarah?
Yeah, you can write. I think everybody actually can technically work on the board.
Amazing. Oh yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna write that frontline team members. 3 to 6 months in that need to just be refreshed on key items. In terms of training gaps, what do you guys think are the identified training gaps that we've sort of been talking about? Specifically in terms of these team members have a complicated menu and they're really trying to learn X so that they can better sell why. What are some of those extra training gaps? I'm going to start with allergens. Always an important one. Yep, allergies, selling points. Ingredient knowledge in general. Exactly, Bronwyn. Upselling. Oh, totally agree. We're getting into a lot of different areas of why you want them to understand the menu. It's not about the rote memorization piece. I mean, it is sometimes for the allergies side of things or for just having a deeper understanding of ingredient knowledge that comes over time. But really what you're trying to get at is we want to upsell. We want our teams to be able to make pairing recommendations. We want them to understand that this appetizer or this side dish goes really well with this burger or this sandwich specifically. So it's understanding those gaps of knowledge to help you then get to some of those larger goals at the end of the day. And I would call those goals a little bit more of that, like we want them to upsell. We want our teams to upsell side dishes with every check. We want better guest experience. We want better customer experience. In terms of some other, our goals are amazing taste experience. Okay, exactly. So aligning those training gaps with then what those bigger goals are is going to help us figure out how we want to train, right? It's those two main pieces get us to focus on how we want to train. We want higher check average. Totally, Anna Maria. Higher check averages. Consistency in presentation. Yep. So let's pick a goal that we can then kind of work through some training methods together. Does anyone want to choose what our training goal is going to be? And then we can kind of design a refresher course around that. We'll see who gets to the chat first. Better customer experience. All right, so our goal is going to be better customer experience, just all around. Better customer experience. So again, I would call that definitely a goal. Can we get more specific? What about our customer experience do we want to be better? Do we want our guest reviews to go up? Do we want our customers to just feel like they understand what we're offering more? Really hone in on what that goal is.
I was going to say increase in average check.
Increase in average check.
Reviews are.
So to me, there are going to be multi layers then. More guest recurrence. Yep, guests coming back time and time again. I like that one, Anna Maria. Creating a repeat. Yeah. So increased average checks and creating repeat guests. I think that those are two really great sort of aspects of a better customer experience that we can really kind of hone in on for a refresher course or a refresher program. So for this refresher program, the way that we like to think about it is it can be multiple different aspects. I know when I was in full service restaurants, we did a lot of pre-shifts and post-shifts. So it's not a digital aspect of training. It was very in-person and personal. I think of message boards in the back of house. I think of messaging tools and sending out quick hit reminders and messages. I think of pop quizzes. I know our teams hate those words, but man, they're really helpful assessments. I think of some structured audits for managers to be able to go and check in with team members about how they're doing something. making sure that it's not just the rest of the team that as Steph had mentioned earlier in the chat, holding everyone else accountable because they're going to those individuals for questions, but the managers are getting more involved. So for this specifically with better guest experience or better customer experience, my brain immediately goes, we definitely want to do a course on upselling. We want our teams to just have a refresher course on what upselling is, the importance of upselling, how it really enhances the guest experience, what our beliefs at our restaurant are around upselling. We don't want to just sell the most expensive thing on the menu. We want you to understand pairings and flavors and things like that. We're also probably going to need a quiz or a quick course on, some items that go well together, helping your team members start to understand flavor pairings, I think, as Bronwyn had mentioned earlier, that taste experience. So these little quick hitter courses that you can resend out, maybe you already had them as a part of your onboarding training for new hires, but resend out in different ways and in different, just like reconceptualizing them for a refresher. Another way is just an assessment. If we really do want them to just understand like ingredients in that item a little bit more, send out a quiz. Have them try to pull that information from their memory over time. They might not pass it on the try, but they'll pass it on the second or third, and they'll start to trust themselves more. Training is all about helping, during performance, especially for our team members that are guest facing. Performance is anytime they're in front of a guest. So the more that we can get them comfortable and like holding that information from their brain over time, the better that's going to be. So it's all encompassing, right? Training methods here are, like I said, it's messaging, it's pre-shift, assessments, check-ins. Anyone else have any that they would use specifically for this? Or any that really stood out to you that you really liked? Short videos, that's great. Exactly. Have team members that are on the ground in the buildings, showcasing, right, scenario-based learning so that your teams really understand what good looks like. Food reviews, yes. So bringing in real life into it, 100%.
By the way, I'm taking notes for everyone.
So yeah, it's all of these layered aspects, right? And it's about slow dripping over time. Something that I always think about, and then Sarah, I know we're coming up on some time for this workshop piece, but something that I think about is it's not everything all at once. It's a quick course on upselling, and then a quiz that follows 7 days later to test how well something really stuck in their minds. It's a short video, as Anna Maria had recommended, as Bronwyn had recommended, where it's a nice, really quick scenario-based video of someone offering pairings and upselling and things like that, and then asking your team member, hey, what do you think fits well with X, Y, and Z? Having discussions about it, offering that one-to-one coaching with managers, and really trying to get them engaged and ask those kinds of questions. It is a quick assessment here or there just to get a baseline understanding of, hey, do our teams need more training on ingredients or on guest experience or on upselling based on that quick quiz that we sent out? It's all those layers that go into refresher training. It really is not just one thing.
I also want to call out, and I think something that I'm even going to do with training our sales team, our customer success team, is my gut instinct is always to think of, okay, is to feel the immediate overwhelm and think of all the things that I have to do. Working with our customers has actually been like a very cathartic and almost meta experience, because we think, well, wait, we already have a lot of content. It's already built. And if you're on Opus, then you already know it's already, if you publish an update, that version is already updated in their resource library. So in the app, they'll always have the most up-to-date version. So at least like the record is up to date. And now with like reassignment, you can reassign just individual courses. So the gut instinct should not be, I need to build new training. The gut should actually be, what do I already have that I can repurpose? And I like that Anna Maria called out this, because videos are quick, as we all know. Video is kind of the chosen medium of all communication now. So even some quick video or in a message blast at Opus is just a quick way to get to address the need quickly. Then like assessments and check-ins are ways to get in really tactically, but maybe require more strategy and also require looping in managers, and might require you to be more of a strategist than just creating content and assigning it.
Yep. I love that, Sarah. And it really is just all about, it's all the aspects that go around training as well. That's why the messaging aspect can be so important. I really think pre-shifts are such a key area of training. Again, message boards that I used to have in back of house for all the teams, anytime they'd walk past there, like all of those pieces are so imperative. And there's really interesting ways to digitize those pieces, but there's also just great ways to like continue to encourage them in person with your teams as well. Oh, role playing, big fan of that. Again, scenario-based learning, I will always raise my hand and be a part of. So I think going back to how Sarah introduced this as well, this is really, I would say, that concept of proactive refresher training. We've already identified, hey, this is going to be an area that we're seeing some of these indicators that we're overloading our team members too much at the beginning of training on menu training. Let's take a step back and see what else we can offer them down the line. Because yes, we need them to know all of this stuff up front, but we also need to give them opportunities to trust themselves and check in and know where to go to find information, know where to go to find resources, and just to level up and get a little bit better and understand the menu a little bit better every day.
That's a great point. I really like the concept of role play because it's a lot like the memory exercise where you get to establish like way more context rather than send out a course on what they technically already learned. So it's a different context for the refresher than say like, hey, you need to remember that these are this specific ingredient knowledge versus, hey, let's role play. I'm a guest and I'm going to ask you about this ingredient and I'm going to hear how you talk about it and how you watch you actually recall the information. So depending on, like Mel said, what your actual goal is, that can help drive like what method you should really be using.
Definitely. Really getting down to what that training goal is, I think becomes incredibly helpful.
Ken has a great question. Maybe not totally relevant to this, but what is the maximum length of a video?
I would say in general, I'm always a fan of keeping things short. No more than like 25 to 30 seconds where it's just like a quick role play, especially in these situations where you can keep it really tailored. Anything longer than that, and I do think that like the objective of the video starts to get a little muddied personally. But yeah, it's going to be what works best for you.